Hello, how are we today? So, what you been up to? How's life been? I haven't been long. I didn't post yesterday, but I didn't shoot yesterday. I guess this is a shoot. But I don't know. It's one of those days that you kind of like just spend the time doing the things you want to do without thought. And I actually completed a whole lot of things and started a lot of others as well. So I'm excited to see how this week goes. I didn't wake up as early as I wanted. It's a Monday, but we're building the consistency. Somebody commented on one of my videos, and he mentioned it's the constant versus consistent. I think, yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to edit the video, dudes and dudettes. Although I saw myself make a mistake. But today, let's talk about audiobooks versus normal books. Since I am not really in the vibe of kind of like, I don't know, man. I'm not really in the whole just jump and do some theme vibe. I'm just gonna start jumping on the notes that I had before. Uh, the difference between audiobooks and normal books. I I'm into reading, man. I definitely am into reading, but I completely understand the power of listening to stuff. But I think there's an element of disengagement. The audiobooks, when you're listening to them, especially nobody listens to audiobooks while they're only listening to audiobooks. They listen to audiobooks while doing other stuff. That kind of allows those books to seep in your mind without you actually being conscious of it. So would I would take that these kinds of audiobooks would allow you to change without noticing that you change, which I think takes away the whole aspect of change, right? My entire philosophy towards life is the fact that we need to be active in it. If all we're doing is seeking a goal, then eventually we're going to find ourselves there, not really understanding the flow. It's not the flow, sorry, not really understanding the the journey, not really being necessarily, I want to say present, I want to say engaging, I want to say conscious, I want to say aware, I want to say observant of what's going on. And you could always tell that when you're kind of driving, because if you say you want to go somewhere and you start driving, most of the time you zone out while you're driving, and then suddenly you're like there. Now, naturally, it's the concept of repetition. The more you kind of like actively do something in your head, so going to work, for example, on a daily basis, eventually you just get in the car and find yourself reaching work. Creates a mundane effort that doesn't really require you to think. And I think these things pile up. I think they kind of like build on top of each other until the day comes and you're like, what the fuck happened? How long has this been? And it's funny because, like, most of the articles that I read online that tend to be pointing about, like, face your fears, don't regret, find the discipline, and all that stuff, kind of always point out towards how not doing what you want to do or not reaching your goals actually makes you feel some kind of way. But the truth is, and I think, I don't know, do you guys know the author of The Graveyard? The author of Graveyard, the Graveyard book, yes. I love that book. I read it. It's by Neil Gaiman. And with an interview, in a speech with Neil Gaiman, he was talking about the Graveyard book. It's actually a very good book. I love the way he writes. But in an interview with him, he basically was discussing, not an interview, sorry, in a speech in a university, I think he was discussing how he got into writing and how once he started kind of like setting goals for himself to publish, how everything happened so smoothly and he lost track of and he wasn't able to kind of like look at them in a more trusting way of himself and enjoy them and enjoy these moments, these small moments that pile up into the actual successes. And he speaks in a very, I actually should link this. Like a friend of mine mentioned, I should start a speech. I should actually start like linking references and stuff like this. But yeah, the speech is called "Make Good Art," and he discusses how he wanted to just be in these moments where everything was unfolding in front of him instead of always kind of like rushing to handle things and see how things get done and all the good stuff. And I think starting with the comparison of audiobooks to normal books, the reading books, one of the experiences I had with a reading book once, it was a Dostoevsky book. I think it was the double. And I read the double, and uh, I remember finishing it, and after like 4 days, 5 days, I went to the beach. And on the way to the beach, I kind of started losing some tension. And then I realized the book had affected me without me noticing how it had affected me. And so, the days leading to the beach were very much like built up tension from the book because it was like completely with me. But I actually like remember opening the book and the effort it took to actually read and closing it and the times. So on the road to the beach, I remember I was looking at the trees. It was in Africa, beautiful place, man. I was looking at the trees and I literally was like, "Oof, so beautiful. Why have I been tense? I've missed the beach." And then it kind of like my mind drove back to you've been tense because you've been reading Dostoevsky and he's an intense individual. And that second where I noticed that the book hasn't truly left me was the moment where the entirety of the book and any lesson I had from it kind of like was disintegrated into smaller bits and pieces and became the whole like became the understanding that I got out of it. The lesson became a part of me instead of me just grabbing the book and moving. And I feel with audiobooks because you're always like you put them, you listen to them, and after like when they're done, you kind of like place another book. They're seeping into your unconscious. And even though you're changing, you're not really noticing you're changing. And I feel like we might lose ourselves to a character that you're trying to build in order to reach the goals that you have. And I've met people that only listen to audiobooks, and I didn't really like how they transitioned from happy, happy to sad, sad to appreciative without actually understanding the center, which is them, without actually understanding the. And again, this is a personal thing. I'm just like discussing it out loud. But I would always want to look at an experience or an activity I did and look at how it made a difference on me and where I would want to take it from there. I discussed it many times when it came to empathy because like with empathy you don't just allow your mind to like become a part of what other people are feeling. You have to always remember you're not them and you have to like try to understand them while keeping that sweet spot, that balance. And ultimately, why wouldn't we want to like take a step back and observe and if possible that's what presence is, right? Like every day just look at it. I should also link the conversation with the conversation with oh god I forgot her name, whatever, an interview with a beautiful woman that that like was like one of those like poets back in the 80s. Can't believe I forgot her name. I'll get it. It's fine. But I should also probably like link that because she talks about presence in a beautiful way. She talks about how she's always trying to observe herself at the current moment instead of being swayed by the moment itself. When it comes to me, man, I think what we effortlessly try to engage with versus what we allow to engage with us, there's the aspect of who are you in the process of the engagement. One comes with your direct intention, and the other one comes with a passive intention. The direct intention always builds on top of who you are, the passive intention always builds on top of the concept that you're receiving. So that is it, man. Audiobooks versus normal books, passive versus active intention. Oof. Yeah, that's a video, definitely.